Hello, I'm Felicity Cohen. I'm so excited to introduce you to my Wellness Warriors podcast. For over 20 years, I've been a passionate advocate for helping thousands of Australians find solutions to treating obesity and health-related complications through surgical intervention and holistic managed care. My podcast is dedicated to all the people, past, present and future, who have helped shape my journey and continue to inspire me to work consistently to achieve a healthier Australia in both adults and future generations. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to my Wellness Warriors podcast. Today I would love to introduce to you one of the dietitians who works at WeightLoss Solutions Australia, Jen Hoult. Welcome to the Wellness Warriors podcast.
Thank you. Morning everyone.
So I'm really interested, first of all, before we get onto the subject of wellness, your journey as a dietitian and where that started, and where did you first get the idea that you actually even wanted to become a dietitian?
Well, that was my mum. Yep. So I've always been interested in sport and health and everything to do with that. So, and growing up in quite a sporty family. And I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I floundered for a little bit, and then it was my mum who said, "What about a dietitian?" And there you go, that was it.
So she was right in terms of
totally
giving
right.
you that direction and had that mother's intuition.
Yeah.
That understood exactly what your skill set looked like and directed you in the right way. How awesome is that?
Yeah, it was good.
Fantastic. Where did you actually do your studies?
At Griffith.
Yeah, so here?
Yep, I did my master's there, so that was good. And then I went back to Sydney. All my family are in Sydney, and then I worked clinical. So I was at Nepean Hospital and Royal North Shore Hospital, and got my good grounding there. So I learnt heaps and covered every single area and ward, and it was just great for building your skill set.
And a really good foundation to work in a hospital network and hospital environment. Lots of mentorship, I can imagine, working with others.
Yeah, and just working out that multidisciplinary team and what everybody does and how it all works together, and so it was a very good foundation.
So what are some of your early takeaways in terms of being part of a multidisciplinary team, managing a patient no matter what their disposition or their issue was in terms of their overall health? How did you actually evaluate that and see that it was important to have that connection with a team?
Well, just seeing that everybody has their specific parts in that patient's journey, and we all met as the multi-team together every week, and we'd discuss each patient and making sure that everybody was on the same page and knew what was going on. So when it's got that rounded focus, it was obviously a great benefit to the patient.
I think that's really interesting in terms of overall patient outcomes, health and well-being, that in a multidisciplinary team environment, no matter which specialty you're actually looking at in medicine, it's critical to that patient journey and pathway to get good results. And I think often it's ignored in the bariatric space as being one of the critical components. So you'd see it in a cardiac setting, or no matter what other health discipline or surgical medical discipline, that's a critical part of how hospitals function and how our health system functions. And I think it's so valuable, but then translating that into a bariatric surgical environment, I think we've taken a lot longer to catch up. And for me, the focus has always been about really promoting the benefit, the need and the successful outcomes for patients comes from having a multidisciplinary team, and it is so important to the long-term results. Really great foundation and great lesson for you to translate that into this space as well.
Absolutely, and just seeing what exactly all of those disciplines actually do and what they can cover and how they can help. And so it was a great foundation, and appreciating everybody as part of that team for that patient's focus and welfare. So and it was great, and in every position that I've held, trying to do that in a multi kind of disciplinary way.
So post-hospital environment, where did you go to from there?
Okay, then hubby was offered a job in Singapore, and I was 6 months pregnant. We just went, why not? So we left.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a big step.
We went for 1 or 2 years, and we stayed 11 years in Singapore. So it was excellent. We loved it.
11 years away from Australia, and at that time you ended up having 4 children.
Yeah, my 4 babies.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a massive culture shock.
It was.
And obviously the environment and everything about, lifestyle would have been so different for you. What was it like for you working as a dietitian in Singapore, and how different was it for you?
It was another great learning experience, and my visa allowed me to have a sole proprietorship. So I worked by myself, but I also connected in with, because of my foundation, with a lot of the physios and OTs and social workers and everybody else. So I could provide my patients with all of that rounded focus. I worked with people from all over the world, expats and locals. I did a lot of volunteer work as a dietitian with the Cerebral Palsy Alliance over there, which is very low socioeconomic local Singaporeans and Malaysians, and that was fascinating. And yeah, a bit of everybody from all different cultures and all different religions, and trying to work out what's important to everybody and understanding their cultural preferences and foods and what they can eat and what they don't eat. Yeah, so it was excellent.
So fabulous to have that exposure to diversity in general, and how that dictates needs in any patient. And understanding all the different cultural implications as well when it comes to food. Were you exposed to patients who did suffer from being either overweight or morbidly obese in Singapore?
Yes, I did. Probably more the expat community, and yes, with blood pressure problems and cholesterol and overweight and all the comorbidities that came along with that. Yes, we did.
And we know that with in a Southeast Asian population, that we see the incidence of some of the medical comorbidities that we're exposed to a lot in our Western population. When we're talking about obesity and morbid obesity, but those issues become a lot more prevalent in a lower BMI range.
They definitely do. They're also very aware of that too, though.
Yeah.
So they know that kind of from a BMI of 23, a lot of the comorbidities do come about. So the Asian population are aware.
Definitely with things like type 2 diabetes, that the incidence is so prevalent in a much lower BMI than we're used to.
Absolutely.
So is the focus on treating through dietary change and modification? Is that number one?
Same.
Always. So no change, no difference in terms of treatment modalities?
No, the same, increasing your vegetables and all of the healthy eating and lifestyle factors as well, and trying to get everybody out and exercising and all of those things too. So you talk about you grew up in a family that was very focused on sport. What kind of sports were big in your family? Tennis.
Yeah. Oh wow. Were you a good tennis player?
Once upon a time, but not anymore. No.
And now you're just a runner?
I am a runner. I love my running.
We love having runners on the team in here, so we're really big into our running. So your favourite distance, 10Ks?
10Ks is it, So I get up at 5 and off I go for my 10K, and it keeps my mind peaceful and happy. It's my time out, and solve the problems of the world at 5 a.m.
I could not agree more, and I think when we're talking about wellness overall, physical activity, exercise and what you choose to do is such a big part of how you manage your own personal mental health and well-being, how you deal with your day on a day-to-day basis. As a mum with 4 kids, that you get out and do that before you have to tackle everything else for your day. Probably sets you up for success right from the beginning of the day at 5 a.m.
I am a morning person, so and I'm awake, so I go out and have it really is important for my healthy mind in order to just have that time out and that exercise.
Oh, I'm so on the same page. I love it, and I'm an early riser. I'm right into being up early, running, being out in nature.
Absolutely.
And it just energises you.
It does.
So for me, when I look at my own personal health and wellness, exercise and running are a big part of that.
Absolutely.
It just gives you so much more. Focus, clarity, energy, and definitely calmness of mind and the ability to deal with whatever comes your way in the day. So
absolutely.
I know for me, if I've had a good run in the morning, the day will flow and it will be great. So today was one of those days. I had a great run.
You do?
Finish it and you just feel great.
You do. And I run on the beach in the mornings.
Beautiful.
And so I don't think you can get a nicer landscape, really. It's such a beautiful, I see the sunrise, and
it is stunning,
it's pretty
isn't
special.
We're so lucky.
We are.
Today was a really good day. It wasn't too hot.
No, it's a little bit windy. That was it. It was lovely.
It's beautiful. You must love the climate change after being in Singapore with that extreme humidity.
Yes.
So coming back here and reacclimatising back to Australian weather, lifestyle.
Yeah.
What are the things that you love most about living here?
Or you can't actually beat the Aussie lifestyle, really, can you? So the kids are into nippers, and you know, we go to the beach as a family, and yeah, I don't sweat every single day like Singapore. It's lovely. I do get about 6 month breather. Yeah. It's a nice mild winter here, so yeah, we absolutely love being back.
I think it's the best place on the planet for me to raise a family and to have kids. They're so lucky.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you're fairly new to the team here, and we absolutely love having you at WeightLoss Solutions Australia as part of our dietitian team. What are some of the things that you've learned so far from patients? And I think, you know, they're the greatest barometer for how we learn.
Yep.
Things that you've learned about the patient journey in terms of your practice as a dietitian. Tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
I think, so I often tell my patients that I've got the best job in the world, because I see everybody come in their initial before surgery or their procedure, and you know, we have a lot of tears sometimes, and people are not they're not where they want to be. And helping them through that journey and seeing that transformation of their health, of their mindset, of just having a healthy, a happy mind after that, the progression throughout that 12-month period initially, it's pretty magic, and it's really nice to be a part of. So, and I've learned so much from them, and hopefully they've learned a lot from me, but and just trying to help them to establish all of those healthy habits to set them up forever, and for this to be successful for them forever.
Yeah, and I think surgery is the catalyst to create positive behavioural change, lifestyle change, and especially when it comes to food and nutrition, and, you know, better behavioural practices that they can implement into their day-to-day lifestyle is such an important part of the journey. And how our patients connect with the dietitians, I think, is so unique. You know, building that relationship rapport and creating a relationship where change is consistent over a period of time is so important. I think many people come into this space and they've had experiences with dietitians, and it may have failed in the past, and when you combine it with a surgical solution, then we're setting patients up for success.
Absolutely.
And their health and wellness overall is consistently changing. So monitoring and seeing those changes over time is pretty impressive.
Whether it's like the blood pressure or type 2 diabetes medication, or cholesterol's coming down, like there's so many medications that they can come off, and their quality of life improves, they feel better within themselves, their knees don't hurt. You know, there's so many different healthy outcomes that come out of the surgery. And you're right, it is a tool, the sleeve or the surgery that they have. And but it's also such a motivated population to work with too. Everybody's so keen to do the right thing and make the most of the situation, and what more can you ask for, being a dietitian, to have a motivated patient base to work with.
So let's talk for a moment about diets. I think that one of the biggest issues for patients, you know, even before we start thinking about overweight, obesity, morbid obesity, is the fact that there is this very confusing platform out there of far too many multitude of diets, and the messaging that people are exposed to on a daily basis is full of which diet is going to be best, whether it's a shake diet, whether it's a keto diet. I came to you the other day and said, what do you think about a vegan diet? Because we're seeing all these, there are documentaries on all of the, on Netflix, on Stan, on so many different platforms. And what we're exposed to, I think, becomes incredibly confusing. Not even to take consideration for whether it's scientifically presented as an argument that is convincing, but just the fact that there's just so much. Like, we're in overwhelm mode right now. How do you respond, first of all, to the fact that there's just so much out there in the space of diets?
It's the same with everything though. Whatever topic you want to come up with, there's just so much out there. And they don't necessarily, the confusing part is they don't necessarily have to be, you know, research-based and evidence-based for them to be out there. So all you need is a bit of great marketing and a great slogan to go with it, and you know, some people saying this is the best, and then it's out there. So it is very confusing. Even I get confused sometimes. So you just have to wade through it all and work out what's the base of it, and really it comes down to, is it healthy and balanced? Are there lots of we know what's important. We know vegetables, lean protein, and drinking lots of water. We all know that. So when you come back with, you know, just the cauliflower diet or whatever it is, then, you know, just have a good think about it, just with common sense, and think, is it balanced? You know, does it actually tick those healthy boxes?
And I love the word balance, because I feel like that really does fit into what we're trying to convey when we're talking about wellness overall. Our podcast, Wellness Warriors, it's all about being healthy and well, and you know, getting ourselves to that level or that platform where wellness is the pinnacle of you know, good health. And I think, you know, when we're looking at diet, it's so important. What we're ingesting, what we're eating every day is critical to how we feel, how we move, our health overall, whether or not we're creating an environment where we're potentially going to be sick.
That's right.
You know, so that it's such a critical part of how we live our lives.
Absolutely.
And how we, you know, approach that is vital.
And so often with my patients, I always say, just make your everyday base of your food intake excellent. And then we all have sometimes foods, we all have celebrations and different things but it is sometimes things. But just have that every day as good as you can get it. You know, take the sugar out of your coffee if you're having coffee every day. Just those little things to make everything successful and be able to carry it all on forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally grew up in a family where everything in moderation was probably the best approach to how you deal with food. You know, I remember seeing a paediatrician with my daughter when she was little, and you know, the philosophy then was look at the diet across the week. Don't analyse a single day, and you know, don't be so fixated on that one particular day, but look at your week and what does that look like.
Yeah, that's right. So. But you know, food is also an enjoyable thing and a social thing. So as long as that's not happening every day, then it's okay.
Balance is good.
That's right.
Love that message. What about for you? You know, you've got a really busy lifestyle. You've got 4 children at home. You work 4 days a week, and they're pretty full-on hectic days where you're involved in all sorts of aspects of patient management. What are some of the things that you do to make life easier and to make sure your kids are also getting the best of you as a mum and getting really good nutrition? How do you work that out?
I'm organised.
And how do you do that?
I have a rough meal plan. I'm not very good at planning every single day. But I've always got the healthy staples in the cupboard and in the fridge, and so I know that the healthy things for our base and for our everyday are always there. So and I have a rough idea of what meals I'm going to cook at home for the dinners, and I know what's going in the lunch boxes, and they have the same breakfast every morning. but yeah, so it is purely organisation, and we all know that if you're not prepared and organised, then things just fly out the window and you just choose what's easy and quick. So it is key to having a healthy intake.
And I think time management, 100% organisation, and that's where I think for patients before they get to us, work-life balance is one of the things that just goes out the window, because we live in a world where everything is hectic. You know, we work long hours, often extended hours, we travel further to work often, we've got families, we've got a social life to try and fit in, you know, and time is one of the things that we're poor on time.
Absolutely.
So making the most of every minute, I think, you know, when we're talking about wellness, time management is really, really key.
Absolutely.
And valuing your time and making the most of it and prioritising those things so that you do get a good diet. You know, it's part of how I think we should all function. And teaching our patients to function better in that way is so important.
A lot of the time with patients, the main thing that they need help with is how to, on that everyday basis, how to maintain that healthy intake. And so it is teaching them about just tricks of tricks of the trade type thing in terms of how to keep your salads going for lunches, and being prepared with boiling up your eggs, also maybe having some tins of tuna in your drawer in case you get stuck, and just those little things, having those staples ready and easily that you can go to if you're caught out.
What would you say is the single highest level of fear for a patient coming to see you the first time? What are they most worried about when it comes to food? Is it, will I be able to eat again?
Probably.
What is it that they're worried about?
Are you going to make me just eat carrot sticks forever? Probably.
Okay, so we can get into that myth.
Yeah.
Tick that off the list.
I think, because everybody seems to be aware that the portion sizes are very small post-op, and maybe it's more about, will I be able to enjoy food again later on? How does it look socially when I'm out with friends and family? What can I do? So all of those things we talk about.
I think it's important to understand that patients are not going to be deprived. That restriction in terms of portion size doesn't mean I'm deprived of enjoyment of a good social life and having all of the things that I enjoy.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's more teaching them about being mindful and enjoying that food that you are actually eating. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So if we're talking about wellness, what to you personally would you say, what does wellness mean to you?
I think there's so many different aspects of wellness, and the importance of those different aspects is different for everybody. So for me, it is being able to wellness is a happy family, and that is probably key for me, as well as being healthy and in terms of intake and exercise, and I know that's important for my mind health as well. And so prioritising the things that make me happy, and if I'm happy, then I can be a better mum and a better partner. So I do think that it is actually a little bit different for everybody. Oh,
absolutely, I agree. And how you embrace those various pillars of wellness that we've talked about before. How you prioritise and which values amongst those are more important for you is definitely very personal. But I couldn't agree more that having your home run well and function well, that's going to make sure that you can flow on, and everything else hopefully will work well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on my Wellness Warriors podcast. I'm sure we're going to hear from Jen again in the future, and let's get together again soon and talk about some other exciting things in the world of dietetics and your role here as a dietitian. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Felicity.
Thank you for joining the Wellness Warriors podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you online with us. If you enjoyed the series, please leave your review, subscribe and follow, and we look forward to sharing many more stories with you in the future.